Help. Help. Please. I'm downstairs.
Okay, who cut you?
This girl I was wanted to was ready for gas. I'm pregnant.
How far along are you?
7 months. She's got me on my stomach.
Can you grab a towel or anything you can get in your hands and put it on your wound and press?
I'm bleeding out.
The terror in Michelle Wilkins' voice was unmistakable. Barely able to breathe, she begged for help after the unthinkable happened. A woman who had pretended to be a friend turned into a monster, brutally cutting Michelle open in an attempt to steal the life growing inside her. What would drive someone to such unspeakable violence? Desperation, a twisted obsession, or something much darker? Before we dive deeper into this chilling case, if you love true crime stories that reveal the darkest corners of human nature, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. March 18th, 2015, Longmont, Colorado. A quiet morning in a suburban neighborhood. It looks like any other day. Neighbors tending to their gardens, children walking to school, the soft hum of normalcy in the air. But for Michelle Wilkins, everything was about to change in the most unimaginable way. Michelle was a mother-to-be, 7 months pregnant with her first child, a little girl named Aurora. Like so many others, Michelle had dreams for her child. She'd spent months preparing, setting up a nursery, choosing baby clothes, and imagining her life once Aurora was born. There was excitement, hope, and joy. One day, while scrolling through Craigslist, Michelle saw an ad for free baby clothes. A simple offering, one that promised new things for her baby. It seemed harmless. For a mother-to-be, it was an opportunity to get a few things she needed. Michelle was no stranger to reaching out to others for help. Like so many of us, she believed in the kindness of strangers. With a heart full of optimism, Michelle drove to the house listed in the ad. She had no idea that in that very moment, she was walking straight into the arms of a nightmare. The woman she was about to meet wasn't just offering baby clothes. She was offering a deception, one that would leave Michelle fighting for her life. Dynel Lane was waiting inside. On the surface, she was like any other mother, but underneath the facade, Lane was a woman who had been through her own deep struggles, losing children, feeling the crushing weight of emptiness that no woman should ever have to face, the pain of multiple miscarriages and unfulfilled dreams of motherhood had twisted her reality. For her, a child was no longer a blessing. It became a possession, something she needed to fill the hole in her heart. As Michelle rang the doorbell, she had no inkling of the violence that awaited her. The door opened, and she stepped inside, expecting a friendly exchange, perhaps a brief conversation about the clothes. The warmth of the house should have been comforting, but instead, it was the last semblance of normalcy Michelle would ever experience. What Michelle didn't know was that Dynel Lane wasn't just offering baby clothes. She had planned this moment carefully. She'd been waiting for this day, and Michelle's visit was the final piece of a chilling puzzle. Without warning, Lane struck. Michelle was blindsided, knocked unconscious in an instant. Her world went black. When Michelle woke up, she was no longer in a living room filled with conversation. She was lying on the floor of a stranger's home, barely able to move. The pain in her abdomen was unbearable. And then she realized something was terribly, horribly wrong. Lane had done something unspeakable. She'd cut open Michelle's abdomen, attempting to steal the unborn child from her body. The brutality of the act was incomprehensible. Michelle fought for her life, her body screaming in agony, but her mind focused on one thing: her baby. Was Aurora still alive? Was she going to lose the child she'd carried for 7 months? Despite the overwhelming pain, Michelle managed to gather the strength to reach for her phone. With trembling hands, she dialed 911. Her voice was weak, desperate. "Please help me. She took my baby." These were her last words before slipping into unconsciousness again.
Green, please.
I can't understand the street.
Green, please.
Green place. Green like the color?
Yeah.
Tell me what happened.
She cut me
Who cut you?
downstairs. I don't know.
Okay, hold on.
I responded to
Hang on.
Craigslist.
Hold on.
Please. I'm downstairs.
Okay, who cut you?
This girl I responded to was ready for gas.
What did she cut you with?
A knife. I'm pregnant. She got me in my stomach.
Okay.
I'm afraid.
She cut you in your stomach?
I'm pregnant.
Okay.
She's something.
What is the suspect's name?
I don't remember. I'm bleeding out.
I know you need to stay on the phone with me, okay? I'm getting everybody to you, okay?
First, dispatcher tried to collect vital information. Later, she gives her some instructions and then try to keep her engaged.
I need you to can you grab a towel or anything you can get in your hands and put it on your wound and press? How far along are you?
7 months.
7 months? Okay. Are you alone in the house?
I don't know.
You stay with me. Don't go to sleep. You stay with me. You're downstairs in the basement? And are you alone?
Yeah.
Okay.
I locked the door.
Don't you go to sleep, okay? You stay on the phone with me. Can you tell me, did she have any other weapons besides a knife?
She broke a glass.
She broke a glass? Did she stab you with the broken glass also?
Yeah.
Okay.
She got trying to hurt her. And
You need to think real hard and tell me who it is that did this. Tell me the person's name. Think real hard, okay? Don't go to sleep. Stay with me. Tell me who it is.
I don't know how.
Everybody's on their way, okay?
Is that them?
Okay.
Are they ringing the doorbell? She cannot get to it.
Help.
Got everybody coming, okay? You hang with me. Don't hang up. Are they in the house yet?
She's downstairs.
Yeah, they're here.
Okay, I'll let you go.
The emergency responders arrived at Dynel Lane's home within minutes. But by the time they crossed the threshold, it was clear. The horror inside was far greater than anyone could have imagined. Michelle Wilkins lay unconscious, bloodied and broken. Her unborn daughter was missing. What had started as a simple Craigslist ad had now become a crime scene. One that would leave investigators struggling to comprehend the true depth of the darkness they were about to uncover. Detectives immediately began to piece together the disturbing reality of what had taken place. Michelle's blood was still fresh on the floor, a chilling reminder of the violence she'd endured. But the biggest question remained: where was the baby? How could someone's life be violently torn away like this, in the blink of an eye? The crime scene told its own story. A blood-soaked towel. A knife discarded carelessly on the floor. There were no signs of a baby. No infant cries. Just Michelle, alive. But barely, and a mother who had taken someone else's child. After the horrific attack, Dynel Lane, with the stolen baby in her arms, went to the hospital, claiming that she had just given birth. She told medical staff that the baby was hers, trying to pass off the child as her own, despite there being no clear sign of a recent delivery. The staff, sensing something was off, immediately notified the police. While Michelle Wilkins was rushed into surgery, fighting for her life, the police began their interview with Dynel Lane at the hospital. She continued to insist that the baby was hers, weaving a tale of delivering the child herself at home. But the officers were closing in on the truth. As the interview progressed, the tension was palpable. Then, the police delivered a chilling statement to Lane. "Victim has been taken here with the baby stolen from her abdomen," they said, revealing the horrific details of Michelle's attack. Lane's reaction was a mix of confusion and feigned innocence. She continued to deny any wrongdoing, but the police were already starting to piece together the crime. It was clear that Lane's story was full of holes, and her attempt to cover up the brutal act was beginning to crumble. When Dynel Lane was arrested, the full scale of her actions began to unfold. She claimed to have delivered the baby herself, but there was no child, only Michelle, bloodied and broken. The truth hit hard. Lane had stolen a life that wasn't hers, and Michelle was the victim of an unimaginable crime. Inside the interrogation room, Dynel Lane remained eerily calm as she was questioned. Police asked her about the baby, about Michelle. At first, Lane claimed she had delivered a healthy baby on her own, despite no evidence to support her story. But something didn't add up. Her responses were inconsistent, and the lies were too obvious to ignore. With every question, Lane's story crumbled. Investigators were closing in, but what would they find when they dug deeper into her past? What had driven her to commit such a horrific act? Dynel Lane's past was clouded with pain, personal tragedies that had shaped her into the person she was. She had suffered multiple miscarriages, heartbreaking losses that no mother should ever have to endure. It was clear that these events weighed heavily on her mind. But what did they push her toward? Was it grief, obsession, or something darker still? Lane explained how after each miscarriage, the emptiness only grew. The need for a child to call her own became an obsession. She reached out to online groups and forums, desperate for a solution. And when the ad for baby clothes appeared, Lane saw it as the opportunity she had been waiting for. A chance to take someone else's child and fill the void inside her. Detectives weren't just looking for physical evidence. They needed answers, and the truth was buried in Lane's online activity. On her computer, they found disturbing searches, some involving unborn babies and the topic of miscarriage. It was a chilling glimpse into a woman whose desperation had reached a fever pitch. Was she planning this for months? Or was the attack something impulsive, driven by a sudden, overwhelming need? Meanwhile, Michelle Wilkins was in a battle of her own. The physical wounds were healing, but the emotional scars ran deep. As she recovered in the hospital, Michelle was faced with the heartbreaking reality. Her baby, Aurora, was gone. The loss was something no mother should ever have to endure. And yet, Michelle found herself asking, what had her daughter gone through in those final moments? What had Dynel Lane? The trauma wasn't just physical. It was the thought of what could have been. Michelle's world had been torn apart, and she found herself struggling with the unanswered questions. She wasn't just fighting for her own survival anymore. She was fighting for justice for Aurora. But in those moments of pain, she held on to one thing: her baby's memory, and the hope that she would see justice done. It didn't take long for the authorities to piece the story together. On March 19th, just one day after the attack, Dynel Lane was arrested. The details were grisly but clear. Lane was charged with attempted murder, unlawful termination of pregnancy, and multiple counts of assault. The brutality of her actions sent shockwaves through the community. No one could comprehend how anyone could commit such a crime. But Dynel Lane's story wasn't finished yet. There was still more to discover. Despite the overwhelming pain, Michelle spoke out. She addressed the media, the public, and anyone who would listen. She talked about Aurora, about the life she had dreamed of for her daughter. It was a moment of raw emotion, a mother's grief laid bare for the world to see. But it was also a moment of strength. Michelle had survived the unthinkable, and she was determined that her daughter's story would not be forgotten. As the trial loomed, all eyes were on Dynel Lane. The question wasn't just about the crime. It was about her mind. What had driven her to do something so unspeakable? Was it pure malice, or was it a mind twisted by years of grief and loss? As the evidence mounted, the truth seemed clearer, but there were still unanswered questions that lingered in the air. For Michelle, the trial would be the next chapter in her journey. But no matter the verdict, it wouldn't bring Aurora back. The child she'd lost, the life that had been taken too soon, the pain would never completely fade, but Michelle's resolve would never waver. She would carry Aurora's memory forever, and her fight for justice would continue. The truth was out, but the weight of the crime still hung heavy in the air. Dynel Lane's actions had destroyed so many lives, and the pain rippled out, affecting not just Michelle, but everyone who loved her. What had driven Lane to commit such a monstrous act? And would justice truly bring Michelle the peace she so desperately sought? The courtroom was charged with tension as press, family, and the public filled the seats, awaiting what would become one of Colorado's most unsettling trials. Dynel Lane, sitting stoically, faced the consequences of a crime too horrific to ignore. Michelle Wilkins, across the room, was a mother, her heart shattered, but her resolve unbreakable. This was more than a case. It was a fight for justice, for the life of a child stolen too soon. The prosecution's case was brutal and clear. They revealed how Lane had attacked Michelle, cutting open her abdomen in a calculated attempt to steal her baby, Aurora. It wasn't just a crime of opportunity. It was an act driven by desperation, a woman's obsession with motherhood twisted by years of miscarriage and loss. But no matter how much Lane had suffered, the prosecution argued it couldn't justify the act she committed. The defense, however, offered a different perspective. Was Lane's crime the result of grief and mental illness? Had her years of loss driven her to a point where she couldn't discern right from wrong? Was she a broken woman, desperate for a child at any cost? The defense painted Lane as a victim of her own trauma, someone so consumed by grief that she had lost her grip on reality. Then, Michelle Wilkins took the stand. It was a moment that stole the breath from the courtroom. Michelle recounted the terror she endured, the unimaginable pain of waking up to find herself fighting for her life, her baby's life, only to be left with the haunting absence of the daughter she would never hold. Michelle's testimony wasn't just a recounting. It was a mother's raw, unfiltered grief. She spoke not just for herself, but for Aurora, making sure her daughter's brief life would never be erased. As the trial wore on, it was clear that the defense's claims of mental illness would not absolve Lane. The prosecution argued that Lane had meticulously planned the attack, that this was a crime of intent, not madness. The focus shifted from grief to malice. Lane's desperate need for a child had driven her to destroy another woman's future, and that was a crime with no excuse. After deliberations, the jury reached a verdict: guilty. Lane was convicted on charges of attempted murder, unlawful termination of pregnancy, and assault. Her life was sentenced to prison, but the pain Michelle Wilkins carried would never be erased by any verdict. For Michelle, justice wasn't about closure. It was about remembering. Aurora's life, though stolen, would live on in Michelle's heart and in every step she took forward, no matter how painful. The trial may have ended, but the journey to heal was just beginning. If this case moved you, please take a moment to hit the like button. It helps us bring more awareness to stories like these. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you never miss the next true crime story we uncover. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.